Can you hear that? Okay. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight to the Zeller Studio. For the first time, we're meeting here, and I want to thank Deb Zeller for that opportunity. Vic would like to say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Are there any new members here tonight, or anyone within the last, say, 6 months? Raise your hand. Yeah, I'm not going to ask you to do anything. Just thank you. Welcome. Glad you can join us. Wendy, how many people do we have on Zoom, approximately? 14. 14 on Zoom, and it looks like we have close to 30 here in person tonight, so it's a good turnout. A couple of announcements upcoming in our January meeting. Membership will be voting to elect our executive officers to a 2-year term for 2023 and 24. And those executive officers are the president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. And I have announced that I'm going to run for a second term as president.
Yay!
Thank you. Please. And the vice president's position has been open for 2 years and really needs to be filled as we move forward. And we have a candidate for secretary, and then we have an open position for treasurer. And Heidi Bensfield will be stepping away after her second term is up at the end of December. Heidi's in the back of the room today. So what we're doing here is we're looking for volunteers to fill those positions. Job descriptions for both treasurer and vice president will be posted on the Facebook page and will be sent out via email to the membership, so that everybody is aware of how easy the jobs are, and it's always a positive experience. So, and if anybody has any questions about it, please, ask Heidi or myself. Our phone numbers and emails are on the website and printed in the newsletters, so you can always find us. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve LaCour for a couple of award announcements for signature membership. Steve.
It's my honor and privilege to present 2 artists with signature membership tonight. And this distinction is given to artists that have earned 6 points in a 5-year contiguous time period. And the awards tonight are issued to Ann Legros and Sandy Schilt. And I'd ask that Ann would come forward, please. Yeah, Ann has been a member since 2020, I believe, and I think her work is just on fire. She's had Best of Show and 2 first awards, and amazing artwork with her reflections and the intricacies of water and lakeshore stones. So it's wonderful work. The other recipient tonight is Sandy Schilt, and she's not able to attend. She lives near Grand Rapids, which may be experiencing some snow tonight, but she's also going through treatment for a serious illness, and so she couldn't be here. She's been a member since 2018 and had some amazing work, but she's also volunteered as secretary for the board of directors and will continue, I think, through May. So it's an amazing contribution that she's made also. And because she couldn't be here tonight, we've sent her certificate, frame certificate to her, so she has that. So, thank you very much.
Okay, housekeeping duties before we start. Just a reminder to everybody on Zoom, please keep yourself muted so that your background noise doesn't interfere with our recording. Okay. All right, tonight, artist is someone who specializes in both portraits and figurative pieces, sometimes within the landscapes. She works to create contemporary artworks that are more than just an accurate rendering by including secondary characters that are uniquely cropped off to create a strong focal point and edgy tension. She likes to use patterns in these quirkily balanced pieces that urge the viewer to linger on the lovely drips, patterns, and textures. Heidi Nelson has a BFA in oil painting, and she pursued a fine art career in the Cincinnati area while working in graphic design to make a living. Gradually, she focused more on pursuing a freelance commercial illustration business. When she moved back to Minnesota in 1994, she shifted focus, staying home to raise 2 young daughters. Here she started fine art painting for herself, painting from pictures of her beloved girls in watercolor. For 20 years, Miss Nelson taught drawing and painting in all mediums to students of various age and abilities. She retired in late 2019, but still teaches 2 ongoing watercolor classes in her White Bear Lake home. She took up oil painting again when the White Bear Center for the Arts asked her to start an oil painting program in 2004. And now she is happiest when she has both an oil and a watercolor painting going at the same time. Please join me in welcoming Heidi Nelson.
Oh, thank you all for coming. How many of you looked at the Minnesota Watercolor Facebook page today? Oh, you're not here. I put a post on there. Please come. One of the things I'm scared of the most is that nobody will show up. So thank you for coming. And you didn't even need to read the post. So today I've doing a it's semi-abstract. It's got a pattern on the bottom, and yeah, I could talk about pattern a lot. But just to get started, I've got a pattern on the bottom, and I want to put a bunch of drips in there. I forgot my value study, but I do have a picture of it after the first couple of stages, and it's pretty dang close to the value study. I remember looking at these shapes. Can you see this part? These shapes when I did this photograph, and going, wow, those are really close to the value study. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. I worked really hard this week to make it so that you see me do everything that I do on it, but you don't see me do all of it. So I've got another painting I'm going to switch to at the end because I am a slow painter. And I know it takes a while to do this and that and the waiting for it to dry. I even had colors mixed before I came. So you're not going to watch me mix color. Although in order to avoid over mixing to some degree, I do have fresh paint, the components of it on each side so I can sort of adapt it as I go. So I am using as my reference a very, very famous picture. Anybody never seen this one? I love this woman's eyes. I have the copy of her in the later copy where they went back and photographed her again with the baby and the little pink hat. And her eyes were not the same. But anyway, she has remarkable eyes. I've often wondered what happened to this woman, how her life was affected by having this photograph taken. You know, at a time, I don't know if women were required to wear veils back then or not, but they by the time you got to the second one, the mom, she had it on, one, you know, the full hijab. Anyway, just wonder if she got, you know, was it okay to have your photograph taken? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, she's got gorgeous eyes. So I'm going to start with putting in some of these face tones. And what I've got here is a couple of colors. Oh, all my colors are up here. I'm so used to writing them on the board when I teach, I just made a sheet. So, and it's got a sample up there. There is one right here, this one, where I just did a darkest to lightest tone for that Blick Crimson Golden, because it's a weird color. I don't even remember how I ever came to buy it, but I started using it for face tones. So the way I've been working lately is I have a redder face tone and a yellower face tone. This woman's skin is not real light, but I want to leave white highlights. I love doing demos because, for one thing, I'm a drama person. Give me a microphone, I'm happy. But and I like to crack jokes and tell my stories and all that stuff, but also I like the paintings I do when I demo because I am forced to do it fast. So here we go. So I'm going to work with this reference. You got tape on them so I don't lose them. Okay. So this is that mixture, the crimson golden. Whoops, am I losing my? Sorry. Okay. Crimson golden, it's got a little bit of burnt umber in it, so it's not quite as red, although it's a brownish red anyway. I looked at the pigment. Come on, teach and talk and paint all at the same time. Yes, I can do it. It's a red oxide. It's got a bunch of words, some kind of chemical talk that I don't quite understand, unfortunately. But so I'm going, okay, red oxide, that's it. I softened that color, going in with more of a yellow tone here. Where did whoops. She's got very wide eyes. I know when I did it before, I ended up covering part of the whites of her eyes, which I don't want to do this time. Oh, I meant to change brushes. No, I did have the right one. It was supposed to be, I've got a pointed round I started using a whole lot this afternoon when I was finishing up. Seemed like to me, too, that when in the more current picture that National Geographic got of this woman, her nose had changed a good bit, too. Or she grew into it or whatever it was. Softening that edge. Let's see, get a little bit of yellow around this red color. I work with a 2-water system. It's supposed to be one clean and one dirty. It's some variation of that at all times. I meant to run another picture out. I'm not sure whether this light here, no, it's in the other one too. Where'd it go? I said I wasn't going to lose it. And there it goes. Seems awfully yellow, but it's only the base coat. Try and keep it in my little square to some degree. It won't stay. I know it won't, and I don't really want it to too much anyway. Okay. It is what it would be considered a cantilever composition, where there's a piece just sort of hangs out. I've got a bit of pattern here that sort of holds it to some degree. That came in late in the process. It was not in the original plan. Somewhere along the time during the week weeks. I've been working on this for a couple of weeks. Not every day for a couple of weeks, but yeah, trying to get it someplace where I can come in and not make a fool of myself. And give you an idea of what I do without making you watch for hours and hours, which is what it would take to see everything I do. Somebody once asked me when I was new to this, and I've got a little bit of, I just dirtied it real good too. That's, I call it Viridian. It's really not. It's Windsor green blue shade. Maybe we'll just give that a minute to dry. Now, you had just asked me something. What was it?
I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, this, I might have to tape this to myself. I do see the design here. Yeah, I think of it as an inset, a face inset. I have a friend who goes, "Why do you cut people up all the time?" Oh, it's not what I'm doing, Judy. No, sorry. You don't know which Judy. Some of you probably do. Maybe it's the graphic design in me that got used to doing stuff like that. That could probably be an influence there. I just wanted to try and do something that wasn't the same. Wasn't just try and find something that's different so that it's not just a picture of a person in a place, which I do too, because sometimes I just gotta. I do remember when she was reading my bio, I remember when I first started painting again after many years of being told what to design around. So when you're a graphic designer, they give you an idea or a line, or in my case, when I was working in the publishing house, it was, the article was about this, and I'm supposed to make an illustration for it. And I'd done it for so many years that I was a little lost, to be honest. I wasn't the same person I was in college when I painted the oil paintings of patterns and ornamental gates and plants. I liked contrasting plants, the paint at the same time, Heidi. I like contrasting the natural patterns made by a plant, maybe with its shadow, and against a wallpaper. And I have one painting that's called Transitions, because in the middle of it, I decided I was never again painting a stinking wallpaper. I just couldn't do it anymore. And I tried collage after that and was disappointed by the inability to get materials that would not, well, heck, I didn't even know about acid-free at the time. I don't know if anybody did. Nobody taught it. Nobody talked about it. anyway. So I've started using some of this Viridian Windsor blue-green shade. Windsor green-blue shade. Why do they have to have 4 words for that term of paint? And 4 of them with 4 words for it. Try and say it fast when you're teaching. Probably getting a little too putsy here. Okay, let's see if that's dry enough. Because this is I was using the green to darken where the shadows on this headscarf are. This is a mixture of the green and the red. Didn't do this on the one I've got put away, but we're doing it on this one. I'd like to try and keep that lightness on the hair in there. Boy, that is looking a little spotchy. Okay. As I wonder what it would look like to let some of that red drift over into that. Not in the plan. Here we go. I like it. Okay. So I'm going to let that dry for a minute. And I'm going to come down here and show you how I'm going to do this pattern. Now, I'm not sure I'm going to go all the way across. Do you usually take a break during the demo? Okay, I just wondered. I just need to know one way or another. I timed myself, so I need, if somebody could be so kind as to remind me when it's about 20 minutes before I'm supposed to stop, because that's about how long it will take me to finish the other one that's hiding over there. Dagnabbit. Tape and paint, the solution to everything. My daughter does have a tendency to say to me, Heidi, that is a little too weird, isn't it? There, okay. Mom, you can't fix everything with paint. I beg to differ. So, I'm getting this wet. The idea is to have this design be more prominent here because I did something similar to this. You may have seen it in the newsletter that Jonette does such a beautiful job on. I had done that previously, and I thought, looking at that one, it needs something down there, so I added this. And you can, let's see, is the abstract on this side in front of me? That one was a lesson I did this week with my class in the afternoon. And it was originally I had found a reference that had the yellow and the orange and the background. And I added this pattern to it so that they did the exact same thing on that. And I purposely put that in the schedule the same week I was supposed to demo, so I would have some more practice at working with that, doing that kind, getting the wetness level right to do that. So we're going to change colors. And I want this to be pretty light, but I did go in and darken it. This color is gorgeous. I am very enamored with this color. Although I went to Blick to buy more color, the old color is this, the new color is this. Somehow I didn't get the right color, so I hope we have enough of it here. I have enough of it here. And the other color, so now we're getting down to the 2 greens there. And I did mix them a little different than I did on the first one. Oh, excuse me. I know I was using this color earlier and it was just way too bright. I wanted something that was a little more muted. So you are mixing. So I'm adding a little more burnt sienna into it and a little bit more of the Windsor Yellow Deep. So to start with, the idea is to vary the color a good bit. And then this. So I used to do this with the back of a brush, but this time I couldn't get the brush to do it, so I went and found skewers. They're officially for cooking kebabs. And I am scratching into this paper that is wet. And when I do that, the paper makes a line. It forms a line of the color that is there. You can also sort of paint with it. You know, get it on the brush, and paper has to be pretty soft for this. I also always tell people, you know, this is, how do you get a hair out when you see a hair has gotten in your painting? Do not use your fingernails, because you will end up with a weird bird in your sky. That's how it. It's a much faster way than painting the design that would take a lot of hours. And I actually like this better than, I am doing it a little darker than the first one I did, because I ended up having to go in and paint some over it again, the first one. I have found that I can also go in and scratch it, wet it, scratch it, and then paint it later. And it will still do the same thing. So there was a book that I found in college. It was a reference book. I couldn't take it out of the library. I made a zillion copies. It was called The Grammar of Ornament. It was written by a guy named Scott Olson, I think, or Olson Scott, Owen Scott, that's it. I recently looked it up again, because somewhere I have lost all those copies. I had copies, and then I played with them and traced over them and then made them bigger so there was more of the repetition, lots of hours of work. And mostly when I first got out of college, I got a job working for a printer. And they hired me to do a job that is now obsolete, which was a key liner. They wanted to have somebody there so when they needed corrections, and they taught me how to do it. And there wasn't enough work, and I got bored. So I went and helped here and there, and the next thing you know, I'm assistant to the guy in charge of production. Should have stayed at that company. Probably could have made something. Anyway, I had a lot of free time, and they didn't care what I did. I mean, I just sat there and dinked around with designs and used the copier and all. Yep, so, but I lost those. I don't know. I suspect they got put in a lesson somewhere along the line to get lost in. I have lessons that oh my gosh, so many lessons. I've got over 100, like 300 lessons in files in my house. When I retired recently, I threw out the acrylics ones. I really, really struggled with that. I could not make myself do it at first. Yeah, and then I finally did it by going, okay, well, if I ever decide to teach it again, I can convert the watercolor ones to it. And that's how I did it. Oops, that's awful dark. So, and I would continue all the way across as she looks at the time going, how much time did we end? We ended at 9, right? Okay. Are you bored yet? So anyway, I was talking about this. This is an this woman was Afghan, says right there. That's why I know. I learned how to spell Afghan. Got an H in a weird place. But so I went to Google, because you can find most things on Google these days. In fact, I recognized some of the diagrams from that book on Google when I go to it. So I'm not sure I need it, but it's in a shopping cart. And I can't wait till it comes, to be honest. I'm excited about it. It was written by this guy who wanted, it was during the Victorian era, and people were just, it bothered this architect, that the author was an architect, that people were mixing different kinds of ornament, you know, Chinese with Asian, with Egyptian, with Victorian, and it bugged him. So he went and he made, and it's by ethnicity origins, or sort of ethnic origins of where these, and for many years, I could look at a design and go, that is based on Chinese, or that, but I haven't had it enough lately that I trust myself. So I looked up for this Afghan, this is an Afghan ornament, according to Google. Now, that's sort of iffy, because these days Google will put whoever pays them, you know, you put it in a search engine, and whoever pays the most gets to come up, even if it isn't what you want. So I'm trying to fade this out a little as I get up here further, and I've done it once, so I know I want it a little further than I did last time, because I was wishing I could get carried away with this. I probably should have looked into doing something like designing wallpapers or something. I probably would have been happy as a lark and made more money than that being in graphic design, because, you know, they don't pay graphic designers very well, because they can get them to come work because they want to do it because it's art. Huh, Jeanette? And now they just get their secretaries to do it. Desktop publishing, yay. Okay, is that dry yet? Nope. I'm also sort of waiting until this dries up here. So I started to tell, oh, I have that transitions painting. It had a pattern that I made up from Transcandia. This is a plant that I knew of as Wandering Jew, but the real name is Transcandia, and I'm making myself learning because it's not appropriate to use the other name. So, and I made it into a wallpaper that, in this painting, that evolved into, at the bottom, the actual plant in a realistic fashion. And behind it was a pattern that had a transition to go from fully painted to fading out in another place to partially painted, like you weren't in a different manner. I don't know how to exactly explain that. And it was a pretty cool painting. It's hanging in my dining room. A little damaged because it was on consignment in a place in Louisville. Yeah, I went to college in Kentucky. I went to high school in Kentucky. My parents moved there when I was 13. And I didn't move back to Minnesota till I was almost 40. Felt like coming home in some ways. Other ways I was a little discouraged. I can remember the first winter. Going to the... my husband was out of town, and I thought I needed windshield wiper fluid. So I stopped at a gas station to get some. And while I'm here, I might as well get gas, because I'm down to a quarter of a tank, and my gas tank lock was frozen shut. And I sort of lost it in the parking lot. So I'm out loud going, I love, the thing they say about Minnesota, quality of life. We have a great quality of life. Love those lakes when they're frozen. I was so mad. And at some point at that winter, I went home, and one day when my husband was there, I went, I want to go home now. Yeah. But then I learned to cross-country ski, and that changed my attitude about winter. go out there and sweat and doing hills and yeah. Okay, I think I'm going to sort of skip over a lot of this. So I do want to come over here and do some of this. Let me show you maybe how I transition. Ooh, that's not what I wanted. It was supposed to go the other way. That's what you get for talking at the same time. So, one of the things I regretted on the first one I did was that I hadn't done enough of the ornament between these areas of color. When I did this painting, that painting is called Pose, and I did that one first. I did it right after our retreat. I got the idea for it at the retreat. And I've got a bigger one that sort of got damaged. But during that one, I learned that I need, with these drips, I need big areas of color so it's not, because the drips are, unfortunately, they're not as wide as you imagine them when you actually do drips. In fact, I paint drips. They're not real drips because they're not as pretty. And who likes watching paint drip? Who likes watching paint flow into the others? Surely, yeah, some of you guys, right? Nod. Okay, thank you. I was starting to feel like I was weird. So I know this one is going to go, this one I want to, so I've got, you might be able to see some light lines here where I plan to put this red area in here. This one is the best one to see it in. So I think with that one, I will just scratch it without putting color in there so that when I come back to it and put that pinky red color over there. And so does this color have any connotations to you guys? Does it make you think of anything? I'm checking because I'm a little worried about. Okay, that's what I was afraid of. It is not intentional. I am not making a statement by using a color that is like dried blood. No, I am using it because it's close to the color of her head scarf. Just saying. Because you know how other people go. Have you ever stood next to, especially anything that's semi-abstract or abstract? Sit by a painting of yours sometime and listen to what other people say. It's very interesting. Sorry, thank you. So, yeah. Excuse me while I check my notes to make sure that I'm keeping myself on track here. Step 2, base color, step 2. Okay. I don't want to do too much of this. I think it's boring. I don't want to bore you by making you watch me scratch that all the way across. So that's where we're going to stop at the moment. And I'm going to come back to, because this is dry enough, I think, to do a little bit of contouring on that eyeball. For which I've got a little bit of cobalt blue down here. Back to the face. She's really got a lot of skin tone in the whites of her eyes. Okay, a little bit of lifting. I said I wasn't going to do it, and I still did it. Went right over the whites of her eyes. And since the eyes are the main thing here, you don't want to do that. Okay. Got that in there already. Okay, this is a little cobalt blue. I like cobalt blue. It's got a softness to it that I just like. I've also thought that this woman looks a little scared. Does she look a little scared to you guys? I think they said she was 14 at the time or something like that. 17 years old. You know, I don't know what they're, I know, well, I do know a little bit that, you know, having your image taken for some people is worse than just having a picture taken because they don't look at it that way. And I know the Arabic was, yeah, that was one of the designs that couldn't have any representation to it. Anyway. Till the end of the whole demo? Crap-a-brony. Okay, we're going to 20 minutes. I wanted to show how I do this, and I'm not sure I can do it that quick and do the other, but we're going to do it. Yep. Okay, here we go. Doesn't do a dang bit of good, but I do it all the time. Okay. Thirsty brushing back. You know, oh, let me throw this one out there. So I'm trying to get it back. I want it to stay a little wet, so it's going to be a matter of yakking at you until... No, we're going to skip that. Because if I'm going to do this, we're going to do the eyes. Because that's more important. So we're going to start with, this is that same, the one with the turquoise in it. And there's a very nice highlight on her eye that I just painted into. This is, so that's the, that should be greener. Rat Fink. Well, we're going to adapt it now. So on the other one, the plan was to dab the blue into the green. In this case, I'm just reversing it. So I've got some yellower green. It's got more of the yellow in it that I'm dabbing in the center. This is cobalt blue, just a little bit on my brush. So when working wet into wet, you have to be careful. In order to control your paint when you're working wet into wet, you need to be aware of how wet your paper is. I've started recently using the term, not recently, quite a while ago actually, the term satin shine. So I talk about paper being shiny in several levels. One is shiny and puddly, then comes shiny, then comes satin, then comes losing shine, and sometimes it's like count to 30 after you lose shine. And but it's all sort of guesswork because it also depends on how long that paper has been wet. So just to make it complicated, which one's burnt sienna? One's sequin gold and one's burnt sienna. There's the gold. Yeah, I think I like both those colors anyway. Stick with the mixture. Dabbing in the middle and hoping for the best. Oh, well, this worked well. This is starting to lose shine. Okay. Here we go. So I want, can you see when I do that? Pardon me? Oh, okay. I am working on a 140-pound arch or arches, depending on how you say, you know, if you go to wet paint, they will correct you if you don't say arch. And I think it's funny. And let's see. So this, I want to, notice I'm using the brush on its side. I'm trying to get, it will get some, often gets, especially if you're using more paper that is more heavily textured, meaning rough. And that was what I was going for. I think we're going to add a little permanent rose here. In fact, I've got some here. This was added late in. That's why it's in the circle down there. Because I wanted a prettier red in there. Can you see this? Something I learned from Fei Ling Lin. She did not teach it, but she did it. She would pull the paint up. And sometimes hold it there and then let go of it. And I thought, well, there's something I never thought of doing. Notice how, and I didn't finish scratching it enough, but you can see it going into the pattern there. It will also sort of follow the lines of the pattern. And sometimes by doing this, or by doing this, it gets sort of a craggy edge to it, like here, which is what I was going for. So that's how I would put the big areas of color in. I put the green one. One other thing I want to show you before, it's got to dry enough to do it. When I mask off this area where the inset, where the face is, I'm going to put a piece of, I don't want it to be a real straight edge, so tape down lightly, 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 touch it so it's not stuck, and then tear it so you have a uneven edge. And I do things like, okay, and then maybe here. So that then when I would put this green stripe in over here, I'm not having to deal with worrying about the having, and like in this case, I'm leaving some white on purpose. I want some white on the edges. One more piece, and thus and so. And that would allow me to then put the one here, and I would do it in two pieces. Just make it look like it connects, because you can't make it connect otherwise. Whoops. I hope that's not real fragile. Is it working? Okay. Take it with me this time. So this is the one I've been working on. Is that a good?
When you use the masking tape, do you ever have the paint bleed under the masking tape?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, unfortunately I do. Yeah, it's not always a... So what I want to spend the last part doing is finishing this eye. I did the other one, but I'm going to hide it so that we can have an unveiling. So here I've got a mixture of these colors on the bottom. They're not mixed, although you can see where I mixed them earlier today when I was doing it. I'm not sure this part is done, but it's close to done. So I think we're going to go down to this. This is a pointed round. It's Winsor Newton, but it's not a Series 7. It's made in conjunction with Blick. That's all I got. Not quite as good as the other ones, but you know, I've started going to the silver, yeah, the black velvet ones. They're cheaper and they don't last. None of them last as long. The Winsor Newton 7s, they don't last long enough for that price, in this woman's opinion. So I'm going to mix a little color in the middle here. And this is a little bit of something I learned from Ted Nuttall. So I'm going to start, but I'm going to make it a little less, yeah. I don't want it too dark. I know when I first did it today, I got it too dark. So right now I've got a mix, mostly red on my brush. Changing it up to the green color. The green is that Winter Green Blue shade, which is not really Viridian, but close. So much easier to read. I mean, to write. Yes. It is hard to talk and paint at the same time. Not everybody can do it. And sometimes I can't do it. Let's get some real color in there, though. That was one thing I noticed that was different on the newer picture of her. Her eyebrows had really gotten a lot darker and more dominating. There's a good word. I think last time I heard she was in Pakistan. So I am trying to get some thin wispy things on the edge that look a little bit like hairs. And I do use masking fluid on and off. I don't know that I usually use it when there's a lot of small areas that would be a real pain to paint around. Which reminds me of another thing. I've been trying to get the word out. There is a product. It's called Bestine. So when I worked, one of the places I worked in when I worked in graphic design had us when we adhered the type to the board to make the mechanical, we would use rubber cement. And when we took it up, if we couldn't get it up, we used a solvent called Bestine. I don't think it's the same thing that's highly cancerous, but I'm not real sure, and I would like to know. I think it's spelled different. It's you can find it at Blick. It's in the graphic design area, and a lot of their people will tell you, we don't carry that. They carry it. And don't buy it in a big, huge can. The big can, you can't get it out of the can. You can't open the can. I took it back and said, if you can open this, I will keep it. Okay. So she's got a very interesting black ring around her iris. And this reflection is, I don't know what it's the reflection of, because I'm just wasn't there. Just like you aren't there. Oh, got to get the pupil in there. The mixture I've got on the brush at the moment is pretty heavy on the ultramarine blue. And I chose ultramarine blue in this case because it's a darker blue. A little worried about how dense that black is. Oops. Okay. Oops. Okay. There is part of it. I don't like that there, but I might. I usually don't do this early. And you can see where some of the paint went under the tape. I really had trouble with it on the top a lot. I need to fix that. Ugh. It's only 8, right? We're supposed to go to 9, aren't we? Oh, I wondered. Okay, I meant 20 minutes when it was 20 minutes to the end of the demo. I don't know. Oh, well, I'll show you some more now. Dang it, ruined my great unveiling. I wondered how it had gotten so short. I'm like, can't be already. Yeah, I was, in a national show. That's a first for this woman. It was the Kentucky Watercolor Society. I don't think they've been around long. And when they first sent me notice of it, they sent me this thing with all the awards. And I thought it was everybody in the show and that everybody got an award. So I didn't say anything because I thought that was a little, which would be sort of cool because it's expensive to send stuff to those national shows. But, yeah, so it came back and got the full list of all the people. And went, oh, not everybody got awards. So, like, I needed it. I've been rejected from a lot of shows lately. So if you think, oh, that's Heidi Nelson, she wins all the time. No, she doesn't. And those of us that, are trying in the national fields, we all have our own level of being rejected. Because it's the art world and it's all arbitrary. Okay. So let's see. I'll go ahead and put that green one in here. You got some contouring on the eye, yes. Okay. Sorry for the miscommunication. I should have been clearer on what I needed. That was supposed to be white. Oh, well. That is part of the problem with this process and part of what I love about it. So I had, a while back, I started setting myself up with hard things to do. I wondered about my sanity. Why would one do that? But I felt like I needed to do something to break myself out of what I always do. Very nice and handy having that sink right behind me. Oh! 10 minutes. She said 10 minutes. What do you want to see next? Would you want to see how maybe the green one and do it over the face without getting the face? Don't really need this here. Oh, oh well. You can see on the finished one where I put it on. That actually happened. I went into Photoshop when I was doing the photos for Jeanette. Because the photo I had of that one painting had a shadow on it. And it was a bear to get it out in Photoshop. But when I was trying to get it out, I accidentally used a tool that would, like, you're putting it here, but it picks it up from here. And it put these places on. I am doing that. So, accidents on Photoshop that made me want to do it on the real one. And this was this color. No, I always say when people in class, if you're mixing a color with yellow and it gets too far away from the yellow, sometimes you're better off just putting some over here and adding yellow to it, because you could use a whole tube of yellow. Windsor Yellow Deep. I meant to check and see if this is the same pigment as New Gamboge by some companies. It reminds me a lot of New Gamboge. Boy, I can't even tell the difference. Okay, we're going to use this one, and we want it to come. Oh, pre-wet again. Maybe we'll try this time. Pre-wetting just in some areas. This is still wet. I'm not sure how that will go. We'll find out. Dun, 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 dun. It's really hard to wait for something to dry with a bunch of people watching you. So here we go. Going down to the tape. Oh, and she belatedly remembers to make sure the tape is. I wanted a white shape in here. It's, it's pretty just the same thing as doing the other one. Again, using the brush sideways. Cheating a little. It's not cheating. Drips just aren't as interesting as you think they are. Oh, good. This one's got some of that dampness going on over here. For this type of a shape, what I'd like is just what I got there. That is the perfect shape, where it just gets some randomness in there, where because the paper is wet, it travels a little more than you expect it to somewhere. And if I tried to paint that craggy, which I have often tried to, I do want to make it look like they connect. See if we drip some more paint down here and do the same over here, what happens. Come on. Come on. going to do it over there. The things we do. So much fun. So much fun. So what I was doing last time I got into one of these things was I would make these compositions, just leave-in sets, not knowing what I was going to put in it. It was sort of fun, but it was also, boy, I worked hard sometimes trying to figure out how solutions for those. But that was half the fun of it, was to set it up so I had to be creative, fix it. There was one where I was planning to put the faces in at on an angled shape, and it didn't work at all. That one really worked me hard. And I do sometimes turn it upside down. Oh boy, that hit a wet spot. That was not intended. Don't like it either. Some things that are unintended I like, sometimes I don't. This is starting to get a little dry. What, Minnie? Okay. So when they don't go the way I want them, sometimes, that's what I mean by dripping is not always something you can predict. Do you have to do announcements or anything? Oh, I forgot. I've got a box full of paintings that I used to take to art fairs back when I was young enough to do art fairs. And I'm a migraine sufferer. I can't be out in the sun all day. I'll get sick. Half a day was even a push. So I brought a bunch of paintings, and I've got some cards back there if you're interested. They're not all priced. But just look at them if nothing else. Yeah, some nice stuff. Okay, this one is supposed to be the Viridian color. Let's not. Let's make this one the turquoise color. I do have a liking for turquoise. Did you notice I had a turquoise jacket when I came in? Okay, here we go. Laughing Low. And this one I wanted the V at the top. Okay. So if you ever, I don't know, a lot of the compositions that I was getting into when I was doing the random stuff got real, oh dear, that's not what I wanted. Were a lot of mostly vertical type things that, I don't know, didn't seem to be received well, let's put it that way.
We'll all be strictly Zoom. We'll meet back here again in March when Deb Zeller is going to be our presenter on life drawing. And you're all welcome to bring your own sketch materials and join in, or you can just watch and enjoy it. And thank you very much, Heidi. We appreciated you
you.
coming tonight.